Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
The best ever.
Talking some basketball, talking some draft, or talking it all. Justin Melo joins us now. Draft Network and Titans MCM and Broadway TN. He's so busy. He just works for everybody, and he is at Justin M _ NFL. You can follow him there. We got him here. Justin, who is your Titans must-have at 7 if he is available? Who's your dream scenario for the Titans at 7?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit boring here and stick with the guy that you've seen mocked time and time again. It's Joe Alt, the left tackle from Notre Dame. I know everyone's thinking about the receivers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and I wouldn't rule that out. In fact, I hope all three of them are available on draft night just to see what Callahan would do, see if he can help himself with drafting a receiver. As he's very publicly said, he is prone to doing. But you look at this depth chart at tackle. Did you guys realize, I noticed this the other day, they've only got 3 on the 90-man roster right now. That's pretty crazy. And the 3 of them are, by the way, Nicholas Petit-Frere, John Njoku, and Jalen Duncan. Those are the 3 tackles on the roster. Now, they've called Dylan Radin to guard publicly this offseason. Sadiq Charles, who they signed away from the Commanders, has played more and has been better at guard. So 3 tackles on the roster. None of those guys are starting caliber players. I don't care who the hell the offensive line coach is. They've got to add some talent to that room. It's kind of surprising to me they haven't done it in free agency yet. It's really setting them up to kind of zero in on a tackle at number 7. I know you never want to be in that position. Ideally, you want to be able to go sort of marry best player available with the need, but they've got such a huge need at left tackle. I don't see how they can exit the first round without taking a player like Joe Alt.
What are the differences that you have between Alt and Fashanu? How do you have them scouted maybe the same and differently?
Well, I think one thing is they're both very good athletes. I think there's no questioning that. You could look at the combine and you could line that up yourself. I will say I think Fashanu is a better athlete overall than Alt. He's a better mover in space. I think he thrives a bit more on an island in some of those one-on-one pass pro situations due to his easy athletic ability. I think Joe Alt's a significantly better run blocker at this point than Fashanu is. Again, I think Fashanu is kind of tailor-made for a pass-happy NFL offense as a pass protector, and that might line up with the vision the Titans have. I don't think it's a coincidence they went out and signed Lloyd Cushenberry, one of the best pass pro centers in the league, and of course Coach Callahan, overseeing or helping oversee a pass-happy offense in Cincinnati. There's no doubt this team wants to pass the ball more. So that's an interesting note on Fashanu. But I think Joe Alt is the better run blocker and is a much more technically advanced player at this point in time. Fashanu struggles with run blocks. I find he struggles to sort of sustain throughout the completion of a play, and hand placement, pad level, things of that nature I think are still a work in progress, whereas Joe Alt already looks like, to me, like a 5 or 6 year seasoned pro. This guy was born to play offensive tackle. I mean, his dad was a first-round pick in the 80s at that position. So for me, that's one of the major differences. I think Joe Alt is a more finished product from a technical perspective.
Hanging out with our guy, Justin Melo at Justin M _ NFL, talking all things draft.
Well, Justin, I guess if the Titans trade back, how far back do you think they can go, let's say 11, 12, or whoever it may be, to still get let's say, Fashanu?
Well, it depends who you're trading.
Alt is gone, so and then someone offers them a trade, and if they decide to still go with a tackle.
Well, it depends who you're trading back with. Like, for example, the New Orleans Saints, who I believe are at 14.
Okay.
That's a team I could see having interest in trading up. The problem with that, to answer your question, is I think they'd be targeting a tackle like Fashanu, right? Like, they don't, left tackle's a big question there now. With, number one, Trevor Penning hasn't worked out for them, and now you've got the situation with Ryan Ramczyk, who's potentially a career-ending knee injury. There's some issues there that they're sorting through. So I don't know that you could still get him if you were to trade back with the Saints at 14, But if he's the goal, I look at the New York Jets at 10. If they want to come up for a receiver, the Broncos and Vikings and Raiders really at I think 11, 12, 13. They're all in a row. One of them might, they're not going to take a tackle to our knowledge. So if they come up for a quarterback, I think you could still trade back with one of those teams and get Fashanu. The key to that, again, I think would be staying in front of the New Orleans Saints. Now, mind you, you asked about Fashanu specifically. There are a ton of tackles in this class, right? If they want to trade back with the Saints at 14 and say, hey, you go get Fashanu, we really like J.C. Latham from Alabama. We really like Talais Fuaga from Oregon State. We really like Amarius Mims from Georgia. So there are so many. Troy Fautanu from Washington. There are so many tackles in this class that project as potential top 20 picks. They could trade back with really, I think, any of those teams I just mentioned and still get a first-round tackle.
Okay, yeah, that was good to hear then. I know it's a deep tackle, let's say, draft, at least in the early round, first or second round, but kind of break down Latham's play as well compared to those top two that we've already talked about.
Well, Latham is a ginormous man, right? He's bigger than both of them, like 6'8", 330, 340, whatever he is. I'll say, and I don't say this lightly, I love this tackle class, and this is a very specific thing, but there isn't a prospect that has better grip strength in this class than J.C. Latham. He is very much a mauler, a road grader at right tackle. He is a dominant mauling right tackle in the run game. There are some questions about the foot speed, right, and whether he could survive on an island. Now, mind you, those questions were sort of brought to the forefront, or further brought to the forefront, I should say, by the fact that he didn't test throughout this process, right? What does he know, right? What does his agent know? Those decisions aren't made lightly, right? So we didn't get those testing numbers. That's unfortunate. That's where some of the questions arise with him. I also think he is a right tackle through and through. Now, I think the Titans have holes at both positions right now, left and right. So there are different ways to skin a cat, as they say. So there are different ways they can attack those positions. It doesn't have to necessarily be a left tackle in the first round. They could go with a guy like Latham at right tackle and solve that position. But I don't think there's a prospect in this tackle class that has better grip strength than he does.
That means Holden, right? Justin Melo with at the Draft Network. I guess give me 3 players on your board now that everything's kind of settled down, that somebody is moving into the first round, someone's moving to the second round, and a middle round player that you really like that people are kind of somewhat overlooking or not talking about. Let's just say us from the media side of it that is really going to have an impact on some teams.
Well, offensive tackle, sticking with that theme, there's one at Washington, Roger Rosengarten, the right tackle for them, who played opposite Troy Fautanu, who projects as a first-round pick, the left tackle. Roger Rosengarten went to the combine and ran the best 40 out of anyone there, 4.92. I mean, that's an electric time for like a 310-pound offensive tackle. He projects into that sort of Callahan-like system, that zone blocking scheme. A lot of teams are running nowadays, right? Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay have sort of made it popular again, right, after the John Grudens and the Callahans and Father Shanahan, if you will, brought it to the forefront throughout the early mid-'90s. But Roger Rosengarten's one. I think he's got a chance to sneak into the back end of the first round. You look at teams like the Chiefs and 49ers, those last 2 picks of night one, both of them need tackles as things stand. I think San Francisco could do better on the right side. Chiefs can do better on the left. So that's the guy that sticks out to me. Tight end from Kansas State, Ben Sinnott, is another one I don't think enough people are talking about. Electric testing at the combine. In fact, I'd wager to say, and I haven't seen this enough, I think he's going to be the second tight end drafted. Now, I don't think that's going to happen on night one, of course. That's Brock Bowers. But once you get to that second round, a lot of people were thinking the Texas kid. Some people thought the Penn State kid, Theo Johnson, after he tested well. I think Ben Sinnott's the most complete tight end, not named Brock Bowers in this class. And then one final one, I think that's picked up steam and has been throughout the whole process, is Darius Robinson, the sort of D-tackle hybrid edge out of Missouri. I went into his tape in early January. I'm going to say this, okay? Sometimes I'd like to think you get good enough at this, you kind of know how something's going to go before you've even done the work, okay? I went into the process before I even turned the tape on, and I noticed a lot of people were low on him, okay? And I said, okay, what am I missing here? I'm curious to see what I'm missing, because the first thing I know is the guy had 8.5 sacks last year at Missouri in the SEC. He's got inside-outside versatility. He's got terrific length. He's a get-off-the-bus kind of guy, right? Like, he's a very intimidating guy if you see him in person. what am I missing here? And then I turned on the tape and said, wait, I'm not missing anything. Everyone else is sleeping on this guy. This guy is outstanding. Then what happens? He goes to the Senior Bowl, dominates that. I thought had a pretty good combine, depending on which position you view him as. But he strikes me as a guy, look, not a lot of bells and whistles, not overly explosive, not a lot of first-step twitchiness, but he's violent, he's physical, he's relentless. The motor's red hot. Titans need a body type like his, okay? He's available there at 38. Losing Dina Kawatri, a lot of similarities in their game. He's someone that could play, I think, on the edge in base. I'm looking at base early rundowns. He plays there. He stops the run. I think he's better suited to kick inside on pass rushing downs. But I would end that question with Darius Robinson, Roger Rosengarten, and Ben Sennett at the tight end.
Mm-hmm. At the Draft Network, Justin Melo.
How do you have the big three receivers graded out? Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and Odunze as far as order?
Can I just say I love all three of them? No,
yeah.
I do love all of them. I really do, and I think they're very different. Marvin Harrison Jr., number one for me. That's been true for over a year now. It feels like I'm not going to change. Don't let prospect fatigue set in. I see a lot of people get bored this time of year and try to look for things that aren't there. Complete package. I don't have any issues with this game. It just is what it is. One of the best receiver prospects I think we've seen in the last 30, 40 years, really. He's that good. He's up there. Malik Neighbors I have slightly ahead of Rome Odunze at number two. Very different players, I think, which makes for a fun conversation. I love Malik's ability to win underneath the coverage. I think his best traits are explosiveness, twitchiness, ability to separate from man coverage. Very hard to keep up with in and out of his breaks. He's just so smooth. And yard after catch ability is outstanding. In fact, if you head over to my Twitter account, we just did an all 22 breakdown of him on the YouTube channel. So you want to sit down with me for close to an hour and watch this guy run routes as me and my co-host, Justin at Titans Film Room, Justin Graver. We break down the tape. We did that for over an hour. We couldn't stop ourselves. We were so excited about him. Rome Odunze, a different player. I compare him, and it's interesting because there's the Callahan comparison here. I see him as a T. Higgins-like playmaker. Okay, he's big, he's vertical, he's explosive, he's dominant at the catch point. Now, I have no concerns. If you remember T. Higgins coming out, the question was the ability to consistently separate. He's checked that box, obviously. I expect Rome Odunze to do the same. I don't have those concerns. I think he wins in all three areas. Where he's truly special is dominating the catch point. There's a rep against Texas from the college football playoff. Very late in the fourth quarter, it felt like at the time that he sealed the game on a deep ball from Michael Penix. Watch him flash the late hands. It's a thing of beauty. You might remember the play I'm talking about, or you'll see it on Twitter. There's a deep ball to him down the sideline, corners in coverage, fairly tight, nothing he can do. He doesn't even give the corner a chance to react. He flashes the hand so late. I'm talking a millisecond before the ball arrives. No chance for the corner to react, get his hands in there. This guy's a pro's pro. He's going to be an outstanding player at the next level, going to make a lot of explosive plays in the passing game for somebody.
Hanging out with Justin Melo at JustinM_NFL covering the draft.
Well, Justin, man, outside the box, I know a lot of people were speculating about this player because they didn't play football. DJ Burns Jr. for NC State. What position would he project in the National Football League? Would it be DN, tight end, offensive tackle, or is he's probably just going to play an NBA? Kind of reminds me of Zach Randolph, maybe as a college player. But what do you see there?
Wow, Zach Randolph. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. I think it was actually Jim Nagy, executive director of the Senior Bowl, who tweeted a couple of days ago that NFL teams would be legitimately interested in seeing him play left tackle, or at least go through drills and practice as a tackle. I mean, big-bodied guy. He's light on his feet for his size, right? We're heading into the Final Four here. Everyone's excited. Big-bodied guy, light on his feet. I think tackle. I mean, look, if that doesn't work, what do we always say this time of year with everyone? Kick him inside the guard if it doesn't work.
Oh, man, when you're basketball, an inside a guard, that's a lot of physicality. That's a tough one there. Now, another player I'm going to ask you about, and I don't even know if they're coming out. I haven't even checked, but I've watched him over the years. I know he has some injury issues there at Alabama, but he plays safety. Malachi Moore, is he coming out this year?
To my knowledge, he is not. No, I
Okay.
believe he returned to the program. He'll be going back for another year. This is not a very good safety class, so I'll say that. We could have used him in this class.
Yes.
You're not going to get a first-round safety. Don't even think about it in this class. There are a couple guys I like on day two. Tyler Nubin from Minnesota, Jaden Hicks from Washington State, Javon Bullard from Georgia's a little undersized, but you really like the football IQ and the scrappiness. Unfortunately, this class could have used a healthy Malachi Moore because it's not a very good class otherwise.
He got injured, because I know he was in front of Branch, who went to Detroit last year in the second round, who had a good year.
I love that kid, too. That kid's a ball player.
Yeah. Keon, Coleman, wide receiver, where does he project? Last, before we go.
Well, a divisive prospect, and understandably so, in truth. I mean, at one point in the college football season, people were talking like he was going to be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick, right?
Yeah.
Well, we get to the combine, he runs a 4.64, certainly not a good time by any stretch of the imagination. Looked better running drills, I thought, when he ran the gauntlet. That's something that translates more to the next level. He looked good doing it, in all fairness. I don't know if you guys have heard of the perception profile, something I really enjoy studying, done by Matt Harmon, sort of measuring the success rate of every college receiver on the routes they ran. Doesn't look great for Keon Coleman, too. There's some areas there where he didn't have a lot of success. That might be due to some of the stiffness in the hips, I think. But he's dominant at the catch point. There's no doubt about that. What I like to say, he turns those 50-50 balls into 75-25. Right? It seems like he's always got the advantage when he high points. The question on him, and I'll leave you with this, same question teams will ask, is he T. Higgins or is he N'Keal Harry? Right? Is he a big-bodied guy that can't separate? It's not going to work out. Or is he so good, so dominant at the catch point? T. Higgins still has some of those issues coming out. He's just so good, so big, knows how to understands how to utilize his size. Keon Coleman could be that type of player. So I feel like there's going to be no middle ground with him. You know what I mean? It's either going to be a success story or it's not. And I can't wait to see which one. I'm rooting for him. Really fun player to watch and a good kid from what I understand.
Justin has tons of content at JustinM_NFL. Just follow him on Twitter now. Draft Network, Titans MCM, Broadway TN. He is everywhere, and we always appreciate some of your time, sir. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine.
Our favorite Canadian, Justin Melo, right there. Always love catching up with him.